Hiring talent is one of the most important and difficult things to do in investing and in private equity. These firms are almost entirely built on intellectual capital and the quality of its people, which is why firms spend so much energy and time to make sure they have the right people coming into their doors. The big reason why private equity on cycle is so much more ridiculous than lots of other industries is how intense people care about getting the right talent. I think it's less obvious at the junior level, but at the senior levels, the difference between a top quartile private equity manager and a median one is potentially hundreds of millions of dollars. In this video, we're going to talk about some dynamics that are associated with hiring at investment firms. We're going to talk about the most logical entry points if you're trying to get into an investment firm. And we're also going to talk about a very commonly asked question of direct promotion. Specifically, we're going to talk about why some firms directly promote their hires and some require you to get an MBA before progressing. My name is Ting for Peak Frameworks, and let's dive in. So there are generally three main entry points if you want to work at one of these investment firms. The very first one, and also probably the least common one, is coming out of school. Some of these firms will have analyst programs that hire people with 0 years of experience, often targeting the top programs. Some private equity and growth equity firms will even have summer analyst programs in which they actually bring people on for the junior year, and it sometimes does convert to a full-time offer. I think some firms are looking at this option more and more because of how crazy recruiting is, but it's not popular across the industry because it's a lot of work and effort to invest into junior resources. But there are certain standards and conventions in the finance industry, like building a complex model or writing really direct prose in an investment memo, that people don't always have at the end of school. And that's why the most common entry point tends to be at the associate level. This is people between 2 and 5 years of experience. And the most common thing to do is just hire them from investment banks. And investment banks really are perfect places to poach from because they train all their employees, they're large organizations, and they work in the financial markets. So I would say the majority of private equity and growth equity firms do hire from investment banks, and they're looking at people with a few years of experience so they can do all the basic analyst work. The other most common path is at the senior associate level. So this would be someone with maybe 4 to 6 years of experience, potentially right after an MBA. And this is the mid-level position where it's expected that you already know how to do all the basic work and you can start contributing immediately, even managing a couple of people below you. Now, I think it's a lot more difficult to enter investment firms after this level. And I think there are a couple of reasons why this is. To me, the biggest one is that there are so many high-quality mid-level people that are vying for the exact same spots. You have everyone at pretty much all the top MBA programs, all the top investment banks, and even at the private equity firms themselves, vying for a senior associate or principal role. And another big factor why it's hard hiring above the mid-level is because you already are expected to have deep industry specialization and know exactly what you have to do on the job. Now, with that in mind, let's talk about direct promotions, and I'm specifically talking about getting promoted from associate to above associate without an MBA. Now, to me, the main reason why firms require people to get an MBA is because it's very useful in terms of managing an inventory of high-quality people. Now, what I mean is this: if you send someone to get their MBA, it essentially means that for 2 years, they're not progressing in your corporate ladder. And as I mentioned, there's such a glut of people at the mid-level, it can be useful to make sure people aren't progressing so quickly. To go from VP to principal can take 4 to 6 years, and then from principal to MD might take 4 to 6 years, and then depending on how the structure is, it might take even more time to get to the partner level. And it might not seem like much, but if you add another 2 years, it essentially distributes out the people so they aren't advancing so quickly. This means you don't have to give out quite as much carry and you don't have as many mouths to feed. And there is a logical extension of this. The firms that don't require you to get an MBA are often newer firms that don't have quite as many employees at the mid-level, or the firms that are growing very quickly. If a firm starts a brand new fund in a new vertical or in a new geography, they're going to have to hire very quickly. In those situations, you'll often see people that don't have an MBA that were just directly promoted from another part of the business or a similar investment firm. I'll also say if you're trying to get directly promoted and you're currently an associate, the easiest way to do that is to get a competing offer at another firm. Firms really just aren't incentivized to act in your best interests unless you have a little bit of leverage against them. Anecdotally, I definitely noticed this in Canada. It's so obvious when people come back from the US, they worked at the very top investment banks and private equity firms there, and they went to the best business schools. And when they look for opportunities here, there's only so many firms, and they're all filled with people with the exact same resume. It's actually tremendously hard to stay on as a private equity and keep advancing through the ranks. You have to beat out so many other people at pretty much every level. If you are interested in the interview prep for private equity, you can check out our course at peakframeworks.com. That's it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one.